Checky one time, checky two times. That noise. Let me fix that. Checky one time, checky two times. All right, this is where I need you guys to talk, so that noise. Let me fix that.
Alrighty. I checked the weather radar. It is clear this week for
checky
me.
One time, checky two times. All right, this is where I need you guys to talk, so that noise. Let me fix that.
Alrighty. I checked the weather radar. It is clear this week for me.
One time, checky two times. All right, this is where I need you guys. You hear how low you are, Miles?
All right. Problem is, if Mark, you're talking, I can't tell that Miles is talking.
Yeah.
He's so low.
I know.
Dang it.
Alrighty. I checked the weather radar. It is clear this week for me.
Oh well. I mean, we can only do what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, it will be fine in the file I give you because I'll just boost it. And there won't be any effect from that.
Is there like a gain you can up or something?
I got it cranked. I got everything cranked. I mean, I'm not sure what to do. What can I do? Well, possibly. You want to give me 5 minutes?
All right.
Okay, hold on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, baby. That is a Seth's link right there. That is going to make an awesome show closing spectacular. My current Seth's links.
I really should probably stop and restart this YouTube, huh? Don't worry about it.
Are you kidding? This is going to be our best money-making episode ever.
Well, Google's made it almost impossible for the little guys to make money. They don't even turn on monetization until you have 1,000 subscribers. So, I mean, at this point, there is no hope of us ever making money off of YouTube.
Well, I mean, that sounds about right.
And I don't even mind that. If they're making a play for the big guys, that's fine. It's probably not worth their time and effort to mess with the little guys. But any hopes I ever had of turning on monetization just went out the window. All right, so guys, Miles, can you hear me while you work? Wave at me if you can. Maybe not. So I'll explain it again later. Seth, out beside each segment, I've put a segment timer link. That is a shared link that if you click on that, you'll see a timer that I can start and stop, and all three of us will see. So I will start a new timer for each segment of the show so that you can be aware of where we are.
Cool. All we got to do now is figure out how to get that onto the page.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could do iframes or something like that inside a Google Doc.
Well, hold on a second here. And do.
You can just.
So is it the same segment timer for each one?
No, it's a different link for each one.
Poopers. Well, no, that wouldn't work. Never mind. That won't work. I haven't started in my Audacity yet, so there is that going for us. I was thinking I could just open it up in another window and then minimize the window and put it over there, but then as soon as I click on something in the link, it would go behind it. And 2 monitors isn't enough real estate.
This is true. I run into that problem. Between
our original pastor, when he left like this big, almost 40-inch TV monitor on his desk. I don't have anywhere in here that it would fit. So,
well, you don't have a pastor. Take over his office.
Yeah, but I would have to move, Mark.
I mean, you are the pastor right now.
And then I would have to move. Well, kinda. I'm not even sure. So, I mean, I'm on the board and I preach some, but I think the other guy who's he doesn't even have a title. He's just here all the time. I think he's going to be the interim pastor. But I'll still preach some, I think. And we have this evangelist who comes in once a month, and he's really awesome. I love listening to him. But
yeah, what I was hoping I could find was an Android app that we could all put on our phones, and that I could push a timer to you, and just like flick it, and you would just have your phone up there, and I would start and stop the timers, and we would each see it. If that is a thing, I haven't found it yet. It seems simple enough. I mean, it's like this web page, right? We would just all pull up the same web page on our phones.
Right.
For the YouTube people just tuning in, Miles is having technical difficulties. And so we're killing time while he attempts to fix it.
You know, we could always see if the poop app is still a thing and request that feature to be built in.
And I'm scouring my system trying to figure out why the CPU is at 99%. Chrome is showing 50% of that.
You must only have like one tab open and no processes for it to only use 50%.
Less than a gig of RAM is in use of the 16 I have in the system.
Can you hear me now?
No change at all.
Still low, huh?
Yeah.
Man. I can't do anything in a... Oh, hang on. Output device. Can I do anything with this? No. Everything cranked to 100.
Weird. There must have been an OS update while we were gone.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm going old school next week. It's the only way.
All right. We're good. We'll go with what we got.
Sorry.
We're professionals. We can rise above it. Please begin recording audio at this time.
Synchronized audio recording engaged.
Ensure that phones are muted, tray tables and seat backs are in their full upright position. And here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geek Rant, episode 313. While we were out, recorded January 28th, 2018, and brought to you by Element Opie Productions. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Drive Time Radio for Geeks, only now it's shorter. And it's not really drive time, because those shows are long, but that's what I have to go with, so I'm going with it. My name is Mark, sometimes referred to behind my back mostly as the Sultan of the Soapbox, Cockrell, and joining me this week, as always, are your two stalwart co-hosts. It was a bad Bruce Lee dub all of a sudden. Stalwart co-hosts Seth the Gooey Kid Anderson and Miles the Aussie Jenner Wakeham. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, Mark, and howdy to the faithful Opiites. We loves yous.
And today I hate Apple.
Woohoo!
I mean,
Victory!
well, today, you know, it's not just today, but yeah. Hello, everyone.
So those of you listening to the audio version of this podcast, which is the overwhelming majority of you, will not know that Miles is having technical difficulties right now, but his audio is very low in the live stream, and his video is very choppy. So he's almost kind of sort of here. And so those of you watching the YouTube video, I apologize for not having taken the effort and time to fix that in post, because frankly, I don't care that much. Give me a reason to care, and I will do that. But otherwise, here we go. See, already forgot to start the timer. This whole timer thing, it's going to take some getting used to. But anyway, this is the, we promised you that the first episode of every month would be a sort of geek culture, random topics sort of stuff, the things that you have come to appreciate or hate, as the case may be, from other shows. So naturally, the second show back, we're going to deviate from that. And instead of the first show of the month, we'll do it at the last show of the month. But we were gone for 6 weeks. And we just thought we'd fill you in on what we did over the last 6 weeks. So if you're one of those people that hates shows that are all about us, that have no topic, and it's just three guys, meandering through various topics, you can just skip this one, turn it off now, and we'll see you next week, where we'll be doing the exact same thing. But otherwise, if you're the kind of people who actually like us a little bit and want to know about our lives, this show is for you. So first off, gentlemen, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Festivus, Merry Kwanzaa, all of those holidays that I missed while we were away.
Ditto.
Right back at you. Same
Yeah.
to you, but more of it.
There we go.
How about that? That's my standard holiday greeting that people look at me weird and go, what?
So if any of you have spent time in Catholic churches, I'm going to make this generalization because I've been to several Catholic churches, and this was the case in all of them. So I'm extrapolating that out to mean that it's all Catholic churches. They will have these various greetings. The Lord be with you, and the proper response is, and also with you. So I have appropriated that. So that anytime somebody says something like Merry Christmas or Good morning or how are you, my response is, and also with you. And it's funny, maybe only to me, but I find it funny. So, and also with you.
Yeah. Same to you, but more of it. Because normally that's an insult. But if they wish you a Merry Christmas, you say same to you, but more of it.
There
So
you go.
you wish them a very Merry Christmas.
So my Christmas was relatively uneventful, and I kind of like it that way. We didn't do a whole lot. We just kind of hung out as a family, did some day trips, went to the Winter Wonderland down the street and things like that. But mostly it was just I took a week off between Christmas and New Year's, and we just kind of hung out. Prior to that time, I had been really busy with work stuff and all the church stuff leading up to it. If you're active in a church, you know that that's a very busy time of year with various programs. And then we had the school programs. We had two band concerts, 2 choir concerts, and various things throughout the time. So I was ready by that time to just sort of unplug, and that's what I did, and it was awesome. And we ate well, of course. That's what we do. But that was my wrap up of Christmas. You guys got anything? Miles, you're out there in the summer. What did you do in the 83-degree Christmas day?
Well, my daughter was home from college for about 3 or 4 weeks, which was really cool. And we actually brought my mother-in-law back with us from Australia when we came back after, when was that? That was, I guess it was just prior to Thanksgiving.
Right, November.
So we had full family, which was really cool. And I guess because of that, we just chose not to do anything. I mean, we spent a lot of 2017 traveling, and I wasn't traveled out, but it was just nice to be home for the holidays, So so we just did that. So I just got up to all my little, home projects and stuff like that, but mainly just hanging with the family and just having a good time.
That's cool. For me, that's what the holidays are all about. Any holiday, honestly. From Christmas to Thanksgiving to Labor Day to Groundhog Day. I'm a very family-centric guy, and so that's what I do with my family, with my holiday time. So I'm glad to see that you got some of that time in too.
Oh, yeah.
What about you, Seth? Anything exciting or new?
No, nothing really new. Just kind of stayed around the house, didn't do much, and that was the holidays this year.
All right. Okay. Moving on to that. One of the things that's fine. One of the things that we like to do is talk about movies and television shows and books and that sort of stuff that we like. I have a big long list of them because I was away for 6 weeks and I listen to on average a book a week and I watch lots of movies and TV shows whenever I can. So I've got a long list. We're probably not going to get to all of those things, but Seth also has some stuff. So let's talk. Let me just give you a couple of reviews. Just off the top of my head, Ferdinand. If anybody out there thought that John Cena as a cartoon bull couldn't make a classic family animated film, you're absolutely right. It was a dog. Even my 9-year-old came out of there going, that wasn't very good. But they got my $50 because I took my family to see it. So I guess on that regard, they were successful. It was just a bland, blah, generic animal movie that had voices of at least one guy that we knew. So there's my review of Ferdinand. You couldn't see him. That's right.
Sorry.
Well, there is a little John Cena news this week. If you're an old-time gamer, you'll know the game Duke Nukem.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Apparently there's a movie coming out, and John Cena's been cast as Duke Nukem.
Okay, that interests me.
Yeah. Come get some.
I'm all in. Even if it's terrible, it's going to be awesome. That's a no-lose proposition right there.
Yeah.
All they need to do is make the Asylum produce it, and then you got a winner. You could have Duke Nukem every year.
I've been watching, just started yesterday, there's an 8-part series on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us. And it goes back to the toys of the 80s. The episode 1 was Star Wars, episode 2 was Barbie, episode 3 was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And talk about really bad movies made with muscly guys. I'm really enjoying that from the nostalgia. My wife really got a lot out of the Barbie. She's like, oh, yeah, I had that one, and I had that one. Finally, I said, how many Barbie dolls did you have? She said, 20, 25. It's like, I was lucky if I got a toy a year. She and I led very different lives. But it's an interesting show. It's very sarcastic and ironic. It makes fun of our own history, but in a delightful way. So I'm really enjoying the first 3 episodes of it. But anyway, the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, it's kind of like Duke Nukem. I mean, there's kind of no way to do it right, but you kind of can't go wrong either with that one. When you put Dolph Lundgren in as He-Man, even if it's terrible, it's a win. So I'm looking forward to John Cena as Duke Nukem. That's kind of the best news I've heard all day, Miles.
There you go. I'm bringing it.
So any flops that you guys saw? So I started with Ferdinand. Anything that you saw that you would recommend people not do?
Everything I saw was at least okay. So nothing I would say stay away from.
I didn't see any movies per se. Nothing I remember. So I can't really say I saw any flops because I didn't. It's funny. I spent a lot of time watching TV, and if you told me what were you watching, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's not really watching TV. That's TV on while you're doing something else.
Yeah, it's because it's a decompression moment for me. I guess I just don't tune in as much unless it's something specific that I'm watching. But no, there wasn't any flops.
So Seth, I'm interested in your take on Jumanji. I've only heard a couple of reviews, but they were all positive about it. So what did you think of Jumanji?
Okay, first of all, sacrilegiously, I have to admit, I never saw the original Jumanji.
You didn't miss much.
So I went into this one, had no idea. I mean, of course, you know what it's about, but I had no expectations for good or bad from the first one. But I gotta say, it was really funny. You have The Rock and Dwayne Johnson. They're like the buddy comedy duo of the.
Wait, that's the same person.
What are we? The teens? I'm sorry. Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson. So, and Jack Black is thrown in there. The character he plays is hilarious. Who knew dance fighting was a thing? But it's if you've played video games a lot, it's very tropic and the stuff they tried out. But it was a very, very, very enjoyable movie. So I think most of the action is anyway, I think it's pretty family friendly, actually, now that I think about it. So good movie, lots of laughs, lots of funny parts. I can't think of any reason to really. Well, there's one I didn't see it in 3D, and there's probably this one scene where if you saw it in 3D, it might be okay, but it was a 3D movie, but very enjoyable. I really enjoyed watching it. Thumbs up for me.
Awesome. I wanted to. Well, I'll get to Miles first. You have some TV show stuff here. It looks like they were probably all on Netflix as well that you watched, Miles.
Somewhat. The big highlight, Black Mirror. Oh my God, unbelievable show. You've got to have a pretty solid stomach for dystopian. It'll make you feel really, really awkward type TV. But they did some amazing things in this series. It's probably one of my favorite seasons of that show, and I've watched it since the first one ever came out. but unbelievable. Each one, there's usually about 6 episodes per season. Each one is an entirely independent short story. Think Stephen King with Mr. Robot, and that's basically Black Mirror. But everything's based on technology that we use on a day-to-day basis, and how it can be used so very wrong and turned into an amazing thriller story. Unbelievable stuff. A lot of them are not safe for work. A lot of them are kind of adultish, and a lot of them are just plain. They'll make you feel really, ugh. But it is what it is, and this particular season did not disappoint. So it's on, I guess it's on Netflix. But I would say, don't just watch this season. Watch as many of them as you can, because they're all kind of bizarre and weird.
So let me just recap what you just said. It's a television show that will make you feel bad at best and make you hate the world at worst, but you recommend it.
Totally. I mean, if you know, art's supposed to do that, right? It's supposed to make you think twice about things. It's supposed to not necessarily make you feel. It's like when punk rock came out, right? People got upset because of the Sex Pistols, or they got upset because of all, you know, people spitting at each other at concerts or whatever. But that made people think. It broke us out of, well, you know, I'm showing my age here, but back in the 70s, it used to be about glam rock and, you know, Yes and Queen and all these big stadium bands. And it was never humanly accessible. And along comes a whole new art form, and it makes people feel really weird. And next thing you know, it becomes part of our modern day culture. And what, you know, what Charlie Brooker has done with Black Mirror is exactly the same thing. He makes you think about things like security and Internet of Things devices and your phone and surveillance and all this sort of stuff. It's part of the fabric of the show. And when you watch it in a dystopian science fiction thriller, you walk away going, oh yeah, I should be more aware of that. Or, you know, they're just really cool. Geeks would love this show. It's a geek-friendly show.
Seth, you have any experience? Oh, you don't have Netflix, right?
Yeah, no. I have access, like, you know, through my niece sometimes, but no, I don't have Netflix.
So I'm guessing that's how you watch The Defenders as well, was through somebody else? Yeah.
I finally got to watch it, and like the last Defenders was great, with all the like the nonstop fighting. But in one way it was cool because you had all of these different characters you got to see, but in another way, you know, you can tell that I had really high hopes for Defenders, because I thought, okay, all that talent they dispersed apart to all those series is back together. And there were flashes where it was really good, but overall it was really okay. So I'm still going to watch Punisher. I still want to see Punisher because they did a great job with that character. So I'm interested to see how they do for a whole series with them. And I mean, series of 8 episodes, but yeah, I saw The Defenders. Overall, I'm glad I saw it, but it was okay.
Now, Punisher is 12 or 13 episodes, so it's a full series. Well, full-ish. Right. Not 22 that we were accustomed to on sitcoms. But I rank Punisher. I finished it over the break as well. I think when we left, I was only on episode 2 or 3. I finished it, and I rank it just behind Daredevil season 1.
Cool.
Good acting, good drama. There were parts of it that were over the top, comedic, but that's not comedic, but comic bookish. But that's to be expected. And really, only 2 or 3 moments of just ridiculous level gore. Most of it, you know, I mean, Punisher is a violent character. There's a lot of violence. But there are a few moments where it's more like Expendables than Punisher. It's unnecessary and cartoonish and not really believable. But for the most part, it's really, really solid. I was impressed with it, and the actor that they got to play the Punisher really does a great job. You really believe that he is tortured and insane, and there are scenes there. They delve much more into this one where he just, in the most literal sense, lives in an alternate reality to the rest of us, so that we see one thing and he sees something else, and they delve into that in a much deeper way, and I really appreciated that about it.
Cool. Well, I'm like I say, I'm looking forward to that one. That is on my that's my next one that I want to watch. A few others I might take a look at.
I finished Sherlock, the third season of that, or series as they call it. So I'm fully caught up with 2013 now. It's really, really solid. There were a couple of areas, particularly in that there are 3 or 4 episode seasons, but each episode is like 90 minutes. So it's really like 3 full-length movies in a season. And there were a couple of them where they just kind of went off the deep end a little bit. You could tell the writers were just running out of ideas toward the end there. But overall, very solid, good television. I mean, everybody had been telling me for years that I needed to watch it, and they weren't wrong.
Yeah, that's definitely worth seeing.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch is a very charismatic fellow. I would pay $13 to watch him read the phone book, so it's kind of hard for him to do wrong. But they give him good stuff. I'm sorry, Miles. I think I was stepping on you there.
No, I was going to say that it's a sign that the British television at that level, that sort of epic high-end level, goes all out. It's a great show, and yeah, I've watched it since the start, and I've loved it. I think they did a remarkable job.
I'll quickly gloss over a couple of movies. I saw La La Land with people,
Emma Stone,
yeah,
and Ryan Gosling.
That one, yeah. I don't regret having watched it. It wasn't a waste of time, but I have no interest in ever seeing it again. It was just a weird modern musical. Meh.
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't like it, but not that it wasn't well done, but it was just like, I don't like the direction they took it, and I don't really have any desire to see it. But I don't have any desire to see it again, but I had a desire to see it originally because I like Ryan Gosling and I like Emma Stone. So
Emma Stone is an amazing actress who was completely wasted in this movie. Ryan Gosling, I don't honestly have any. I can't tell you anything else he's ever done, so I don't know if he's an amazing actor or not. I did see The Darkest Hour. That's out in theaters now. It's the story of Winston Churchill's election to prime minister, and as it overlaps with the events at Dunkirk. Gary Oldman is masterful in that movie. It is an excellent historical film. It's slow and plodding. There's very little action. It is a historical, political, documentary drama kind of thing. It's while there are war events, you don't see any of them, so there's no action there. But it is if you like that kind of movie, if you liked Willem Dafoe, was it Willem Dafoe? Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln, then you'd like Gary Oldman as Churchill. And
was that the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter or the other Lincoln movie?
The other one. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I went in with minimal expectations. My thinking was, I like Churchill, I like Gary Oldman. My wife wants to see it. Those 3 things make it worth paying for. But walked out very impressed with it. So I 2 enthusiastic thumbs up for that one. Either of you seen that one?
No, but now I hear
Have not seen
your
it.
review. I will be.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
one I want to.
I like Gary Oldman. He always plays the sort of weird guys, but he is so buried in that character that you have to look to see Gary Oldman. I mean, you have to stop yourself and think, I'm watching a guy whose face I know, because his face is so buried that the makeup is outstanding. But not just the makeup, but the mannerisms and the way he carries himself. He really looks like a broken down, drunk, old, 60-ish-year-old man, which may in fact be Gary Oldman at this point in his career. I don't know, but he does it really well, and it doesn't pull any punches. It shows Churchill at his best and at his worst. Anyway, so I'll stop. What's the word? Gushing about that. I want to tell you about a couple of books that I read while I was away. One is if you're into just the history of weird stuff, not weird stuff, but mundane stuff, Consider the Fork is an excellent history of cooking and eating utensils. I just said that thing. An excellent history of cooking and eating utensils. But if you're like that kind of thing, and I love taking things, like why do we have the 6-inch chef knife? Why is that the knife and not the Chinese cleaver, or not the the paring knife? Why do all forks have 4 tines? These are the things that I find interesting. And it was a dazzling little gem of an audiobook on Audible, Consider the Fork. And then completely opposite from it, because I like to mix it up, is second in the series of books called Helldivers. So the premise of this is it is 250 odd years after a nuclear apocalypse. We're not sure when the nuclear apocalypse happened, but it was somewhere in the current-ish time frame. So, maybe 2050, 2075, somewhere around there. And humanity, in order to survive the nuclear radiation waste zone that is Earth, has taken to living in airships. So they're floating in helium airships. They're recycling oxygen. They're growing their own food. They're growing animals and that sort of thing. And so they've been doing this for 250 years. Their machines are falling apart. So they have to send hell divers down. These are guys who parachute down into the toxic wasteland that is Earth, scavenge for parts, and then blow themselves back up through helium-based launchers so that the ships can collect them and gather their stuff. Really interesting world building. There's only 2 books. It's clear by the way the second book ends that there's going to be at least a third. But I enjoy that kind of stuff, and it's really well written. A little predictable in parts, but for the most part, really solid. Helldivers available on Audible.
That sounds good.
Cool. I might have to check that out. I'm looking for something to read tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not the political intrigue stuff that you like, Seth, but it is. I think you would enjoy it. And along those lines, you read a series I don't know anything about, but I'm assuming it's sci-fi political stuff because that's what you like.
Actually, this is Zombie Apocalypse.
Oh, okay.
Arisen. It was a coworker introduced me to the series. And there's 14 books. The 14th book finished it, and I finally caught up at book 14. So I started it just the right, and used my Prime Plus to get it, and then I got greedy and went to the unlimited Kindle for like $10 a month. And so it's set a few years after the zombie apocalypse. Britain is the only country left because they were able to isolate themselves quickly. America has zombie hordes. Europe has zombie hordes. It started as a result of a bioweapon gone wrong in Africa. That's where it started. And of course it spread. And so it's the free world all collapsed down. So they're on a United States aircraft carrier, but special forces from all over the world form these spec op teams, and they're looking for, and they end up finding, their search is for a cure to stave off the zombie apocalypse and restore humanity. And so it's called Arisen, 14 books, and they're not short books, but it starts off with action and then gets extreme. And by the end, it's all action all the time. It's military science fiction, high octane going. The characters are very well developed. For 14 books, they better be. Just really, really good. If you like fast-paced novels, if you like long things to read, if you like a lot of action, all of that is found in Arisen. Check it out if you like zombies. So if you like The Walking Dead, but think that there's too much intrigue going on and there's not enough zombie killing, then you would love Arisen.
That I'm trying to process all of that. I can't decide whether it sounds interesting or not. I like military sci-fi. I'm not a big fan of zombies. I don't know.
Do you like The Walking Dead?
I've never seen 1 minute of The Walking Dead.
Really? Because if you think The Walking Dead is paced slow, you would love Arisen. But so, and and it's kind of set current day, so it's not like they don't have the Railgun 9000 and they're not calling down strikes from starships. So imagine today's technology. And they talk about how the satellites are starting to fall out because they can't launch missions to maintain them, so GPS is going down. There's not enough people to keep the internet going because there's not enough trained engineers, and so they're talking about having to go back to almost a card catalog type system of note taking, and so just stuff like that. Very good world building. The world building holds up over 14 novels, so you don't get the political intrigue of a David Weber, thankfully, and you don't get the same stuff repeated 100 times like David Weber either. So
all right,
I enjoyed it.
I may see if it's on Audible. And so, Miles, while we were busy reading books and watching television, you were fixing all the old stuff behind you. I see new lights on and new screens on.
Yeah, there's a cost of owning retro gear. Things blow up, like capacitors just die. You walk into your office where you've got these proud collection of old computers in there, and then every morning you get up and you walk in there with this sense of, I'm going to smell blown capacitors, aren't I? I mean, it just comes with the territory. And it's no different for all the machines I've got behind me, but there's also, I have a garage full of another 20 or so retro computers, and it's a hobby of mine. I pull these things out and I try and give them life again. And what had happened was a bunch of the machines which I've had sitting behind me for some time, one by one, died. Most of which was due to a power supply fluctuations in the area. Some idiot turns the power off because they're fixing your air conditioner. Doesn't tell you. You think the UPS will cover you, and it doesn't. Next thing you know, you've got dead computers. Well, that was my world last year, so I decided over the holidays to fix them all. So, yeah, one by one, I did them. And I must say, look, the vintage computer community who is out there are the nicest bunch of guys ever, and everybody helps everybody out, and you just have to ask, and somebody knows how to fix something. There's somebody there and who wants to tell you what life is like in 1982, and all you got to do is just ask, and they'll tell you how to fix whatever you want. And I'm blown away by this community, and because of that, all my machines are all back up and running again. So, and some. So I'm very happy.
That's cool. Any interesting experiences in that you'd like to talk about in particular? Behind me there's an Apple II GS which has been there for a while. One of the things which is a growing theme I've got in all of the retro computers that I have in my office is that I will not put a machine in there. Excuse me. I will not put a machine in there that does not have solid state storage. And it's kind of it's like a mission I set to myself, that I wanted to be able to have all these old computers, but I wanted to be able to have all the software they ever had and always available and online at any time if I wanted. And that, it's a pretty tall order, so that's what I chose to do. Every one of those machines behind me has solid state storage. And so consequently no problems with hard drives dying or floppy drives dying or any of that. Well, one of the machines, the 2GS, has got a card in it which is called a CFFA 3000, and it sounds like something out of a science fiction novel, but in fact what it is a device that you plug either a USB or a compact flash card into, and you load all your content on there. When you boot it, it will give you the option of presenting you with a menu of everything you've got in this device, and you can virtually load it to a disk drive. And then having done that, you then tell it to boot the disk, and it boots the game.
they're remarkable bits of hardware. The guy who makes them, he only does short runs. He's done a number of runs over the time, but normally he does it that once a year. If you're lucky enough to get in on buying one of these things, then you'll get one. Well, I bought 2 of them over the course of a couple of years, and both of them, for some really weird reason, died. And I thought, I'm going to wait 6 months before he produces another batch, before I can, buy another one. Well, out of pure interest, I found this guy on the internet, and I sent him an email, and his name's Rich Dreyer. And I said, hey, Rich, look, I've got a couple of these cards that you got. Do you have any idea what might be wrong with them? And he goes, tell you what, put them in the mail, send them to me, and I'll fix them for you for free. Dude, come on, really? I mean, I don't expect that. No, I'll do it. Just send it. And you know what he did? And they came back, and they worked great. This guy rocks. So again, just another example of the vintage computer community coming together and making good things happen.
That is very cool. I like hearing stories like that.
I have a...
Go ahead, Seth.
I was going to say, I have a great 2GS story. Those came out when I was in high school, and we had a lab full of them, and we had a first-year teacher. And so I went in, and I remember I changed the input language to French and the output language to Danish. And because her knowledge was in PC, she had no idea what I'd done. And I just thought it was hilarious. I got called into the office later in the day whenever she finally figured it out. But I thought it was funny that you could go in and make the output one language and input another, and then just not tell anyone. And then all of a sudden, these computers are spitting out weird characters. Fun times.
Absolutely. That's brilliant, man.
And just while you were talking there, I checked, and there are 14 books plus a preamble, book 0.5 of the Arisen series on Audible. Okay, well, all that's there is just Arisen book 0.5. But anyway, there's 15 books. Not only are they there, but they're narrated by one of my favorite authors, actors rather, R.C. Bray. I have gone and downloaded books just because he was reading them. He's that good. Well, so I'm in.
If you like the first one, you'll like the series. If you don't like the first one, you probably won't like the series. So,
all right. That's fair enough. So we have just about a minute to go in this segment. I don't think I had anything else in particular that I wanted to mention. You guys, anything you just have to get in there?
I was just going to throw a recommendation for one other TV series because it was an unusual find. It's a show called Mr. Mercedes, and it's a series of shows in a season based on a Stephen King novel. And it's, of all things, it was on the Audience Network, which I don't think I've ever watched that before. It's something on DirecTV or, I don't know, AT&T sponsor it or whatever. Unbelievable series, a very good crime thriller with a real kind of cyber hacker twist on it. The villain is a computer guy, and he works in a store fixing computers and uses technology to basically pick his victims and kills them, that sort of thing. Anyway, really good. Really, really good. Funny thing is, directed by David Kelly, who I found out was the guy back in the 80s who did like LA Law and all those TV series that were pretty popular back then. Anyway, he directed this thing. But yeah, major recommendation. Very, very cool. I don't know where you'll find it. It might be a BitTorrent thing, but it's a good show. Really well worth hunting down.
All right, I'm always interested in learning new things. Just one quick thing I stumbled onto. It's been around for a while. It's a Netflix original. It's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and it's Jerry Seinfeld in a sports car of his choosing, usually some old Porsche or something like that, picking up one of his friends who's also a comedian, and they go get coffee. That's the whole thing. But it's remarkably fun to see him and Norm Macdonald go get coffee. or him and Sarah Jessica Parker go get coffee. It's more fun than I expected it to be. And family friendly. I mean, they do have some adultish topics, but any of the serious words get bleeped out. So worth checking out. And now it's time for This Week in History. Seth?
All right, Mark. I wanted to let you know that on January the 28th, 1999, Yahoo buys GeoCities. Yahoo buys GeoCities for $3.65 billion United States dollars. GeoCities was an early web hosting service getting its start in 1994. As a testament to its enduring popularity, there were at least 38 million pages remaining on GeoCities when Yahoo shut it down in 2009, 10 years after purchase. And that happened this week in history, Mark. And now, back to you.
Yeah, GeoCities was this neat idea when we were still trying to figure out how to organize the web. Search engines weren't really a thing yet. Yahoo was an index of links. Alta Vista was an index of links. Google really wasn't off the ground. And GeoCities said, we're going to organize the web the same way we organize cities. We're going to have neighborhoods, and we will group like neighborhoods together. So if your websites are about computer repair, you'll be in this neighborhood. And if your websites are about porn, you'll be in this neighborhood. And if your websites are about children's educational programming, they'll be in this neighborhood. Great idea that never worked. I never figured out anything. It was just a link that would take me to a GeoCities page. I never figured out how to browse the neighborhoods. I never figured out what the neighborhoods were about. But for many people, that and, say, Tripod, I would say, were the first landing pages of the internet, the first places people created anything on the internet, because GeoCities was not just a storehouse, but also a web page server platform where you could go and create a page.
Didn't they have like templates or something that made it easy so you didn't have to know how to code to do a website? And it
was a good mix of the two. You could start with a template, and back then every template was just a centered list of text right down the middle of the page with a banner at the top. But yeah, they had templates, and you could just plug things in and not know any coding at all. But if you didn't know how to code HTML, that was an option too.
Cool. It also was responsible for launching a lot of web designers' careers too, because it was one of the first sites you could actually, for free, post something. In the past, you had to pay a lot of money to get a domain name and a web hosting. Back in the 90s, that was serious coin. GeoCities did everything for free. And yeah, you didn't get a really nice URL. You didn't get that. But it was good enough if you wanted to dabble with HTML and JavaScript. You could do some cool stuff with it. It wasn't perfect, but it was a really good start. And a lot of people moved on from there and became designers and coders, and who knows where they ended up.
I remember trying to put my GeoCities URL on a business card, and it wouldn't fit on a standard 3-inch business card because the URL was so long.
See, you should have had the idea for a URL shortener. You could have made bank back in the day.
Quite possibly. Did anybody ever pay for a URL shortener? I mean, those have always been free, right?
I don't know.
AdSense revenue, I think, kept those guys going.
All right. Well, that's it for This Week in History. Seth, what do you have this week to lower my productivity, thus making you seem like a better hiring option?
Okay, well, this could definitely lower your productivity. So if sometimes counting is just too hard and you don't know what number comes next, well, this guy counts to 100,000 in one video, and he just goes. And so it's the dumbest thing I've seen in quite some time. And he just makes notes when he reaches specific milestones. So if you need help counting to 100,000, this guy can do it. So Mr. Beast video for the win. Good luck in watching this and then talking to your boss at work the next day.
23 hours, 48 minutes, and 5 seconds. He said the original video was...
Adobe maxes out at 24.
Yeah, it was originally 40 minutes long. And he just stands there and counts. That's all he does. This dude's wearing a Harvard t-shirt. This is what you do with a Harvard education, people. You sit in a chair and you count. And he has how many views? 10 million views.
Parents must be so proud.
10 million views of him counting to 100,000 in one video.
So, and he apparently has loads of subscribers on his YouTube channel. I had not run across him before today, but that's not saying much. There's huge swaths of the net I'm yet to become acquainted with. So, but anyway, yes, like I say, watch that for an hour and then go try to have an intelligent conversation with anyone.
I don't know if this guy is a genius or a moron or maybe some mix of the two, but I got to say, he knows how to finish what he started. I don't think I would do that. I think I'd get bored after about, 100 and say, all right, this isn't worth it. But he got 10 million views, and he deserves every one of those.
Yes. Yeah, and I read a little bit about him making it. He said it was 40 hours, but Adobe would only do 24, so he had to speed up some sections to get it under that 24-hour mark. So he could... That's some dedication right there.
So at some point he's saying 98,276, 98,277, 98,270. Where was I? I mean, seriously, he must have some sort of counter going or something. I mean, how do you keep track for 23 hours? I'm sure he didn't do it all in one sitting, but still. I couldn't do just that number there. Anyway.
You're welcome.
So this is the part of the show where I tell you how you can contact us, how you can let us know what you think about what we're doing. We really do care. Miles and Seth care more than I do, but some of us really do care about what you think about what we're doing. Do you like the new format? Do you hate it? Do you wish we'd just all go away? Well, if that's the case, you could just unsubscribe and boom, we would go away. But anyway, go to elementop.com, click the Contact Us button at the top of the page, and let us know what you think. I truly, honestly look forward to getting email from members of the audience. I got several emails when we went back live saying, "Yay, we're so glad you're back. We're glad to hear what you're doing." One of them was just super excited. It's like, "This is the best news I've ever heard. It was great." I thought, thank you, but maybe you're just a little over the top about it. But if we can bring that much joy into a single person's life, then, we're kind of doing something right? Anyway, go to elementop.com, click the Contact Us button, answer the world's hardest CAPTCHA, fill out the form there that gets priority in my in-basket. And that is the best way to contact us. It really is. However, because we know that not everybody likes to do the things the best way they can do them, we give you alternate options as well. You can you can email to GeekRant at elementop.com, and that will go to all three of us, lest you think I am filtering your messages to the other two. You can dial 559-I-AM-OP. That's our Google Voice box, and you can leave us a voice message there, and there's a good chance that we'll play it on the show. Or maybe you can contact me on Facebook and Twitter. Not likely, but you could try, because let's face it, we need some activity on those pages. But really, the best way to do it is to use the Contact Us button at the top of the page. Let us know what you think, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Yep.
I think I've run out of things to say, but we have like 5 minutes left in the show. You guys, anything you want to say? Should we just sit here in silence for a while?
I wanted to mention something that I noticed. I was just reviewing our last show that we did while I was at the gym, and somebody's beeping. Oh, it must be the timer. Hang on.
Sorry, I thought I stopped it.
That's the timer going. That's weird. Okay, sorry. I was at the gym on a treadmill reviewing our last show, and I noticed it. You know what? 45 minutes or 40 whatever minutes we were, I can't remember. It felt really cool. Like, I felt like it was the digestible chunk of my life, and I don't know if that explains anything in a scientific form, but it just felt like it was about the right amount of time. I don't know. But anyway, I just want to throw that in. I might be.
And Super
everyone may
Troopers 2
disagree
is a
with me,
thing.
but, you know.
That's random. Yeah, I mean, originally this show was, when it was Everyday Linux, we set out to be about a 45 to 50-minute show, and then we just grew over the years to encompass more stuff, more interests, more things. Seth's great news stuff, and there's so many good cultural things going on. So it just kind of grew and grew, and I like the fact that we're sort of focusing it and making ourselves focus on simple topics and keeping the rabbit trails to a minimum. But we're only 2 shows in. We may get bored with it. I don't know. We'll just see what happens. Clearly, I need to work out this whole timer thing so that you guys aren't beeping during the show. I'll have to work on that. But yeah, I'm glad to be back. I really did miss you guys. I didn't necessarily miss the act of doing a podcast, but this week, I was ready to get back to it. So while I didn't necessarily miss it while it was gone, once I got back into the flow of it, it became a thing that I really, looked forward to doing again. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what the future holds. Also, if there's anybody out there that you'd like us to try to interview, we've said this before, but we would love to do more interviews of interesting people. If you want to be interviewed, you can put your hand up for that as well. Hopefully you've got something interesting to say, something interesting to talk about. But if there are leaders in a field or just interesting people that you'd want us to talk about, I'm happy to send an email, maybe even make a phone call. Those of you who know me know I don't make phone calls, so that's actually a big ask to say that I'd make a phone call. But I'm totally willing to do that and try to get some people on the show. But we just need to know who you want to hear from other than us. All right. That's kind of all I got to say. Miles, Seth, any final words of wisdom before we say goodnight?
No, I still hate Apple.
Nope.
Okay. So we're
Apple bleeps.
we are wisdom free for the night. So thanks for listening, listeners. Those of you who showed up in the chat room, we always appreciate having you guys around. We would love to get a little more live engagement on this show. That would be awesome. We'd love to get engagement in general. Let us know what you think. Truly, it is something, we assume that every person who reaches out to us represents, dozens to hundreds of others. So we want to hear what you have to say. But mostly, thank you for sticking with us now for, 7 years? We've been doing some iteration of this show. That's quite a long time, and some of you have been with us the whole time, and we appreciate that. And please go and leave us a review on iTunes. There are other places you can leave a review, and that'd be great, but still, at this time, iTunes is sort of the podcast directory. That's changing. I don't think it will always be that way, but it is right now. So go to iTunes, leave us a review, let us know what you think, let the world know what you think, and we will thank you for that. For now, we'll see you next week, because that's it for this episode of the GeekRant. And remember, pay for what you like.
That's the 2015 of you, Mark.
I know. I just haven't come up with another ending.
I actually like it when you end it like that. I think that's clean. It's good. Anywho.
It's still a message people need to hear, clearly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for each segment, just before we got to the end, even though I had the thing muted on my side, I had been pausing the timer and then closing it. So that time I just closed it without pausing it, which means that the timer kept running on your end, and that's why it ran out. So now we know. Were either of you looking at those at all throughout the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
For each segment I was.
Good.
No.
Seth, what
I don't have 748 monitors like Miles
Well,
does.
what I did, and what I recommend you do, is I pulled them all out into very small screens and then just laid them on top of the dock. So as one went away, I closed it and the one behind it popped up. So, or, make your dock, squeeze it to the side a little and put the counter to the other side. That seemed to work for now. We finished with 53 seconds left. I didn't start it right away, so I figure we're probably in the neighborhood of, 48 to 52 minutes, plus the bumper at the beginning and the end. So I'm pretty happy with that. Last week we clocked in after everything at only 43 minutes. So we were short last week.
Yeah, and I know we'll get this better.
Yeah.
It just takes time.
I thought that was a good. I'm going to need to change this up a little bit. We don't need 5 minutes for this week in history, and we don't need. Well, we did for that this week in history, but we don't need 5 minutes for the show closing spectacular. So I'll probably take 2 minutes from there and put it back up at the top or something. But
it just depends on the history.
Right. No, that one we went over in the history. We went over a minute in the history, but we still finished 2 minutes light, even having gone over a minute on the show closing spectacular. So yeah, and it's fine. I just let the timers roll, so it's not a big deal. I'm excited about the tightness of it. I mean, we had technical problems, and we're still finishing nearly an hour before we have in the past.
Yeah, that's true. I got to try and work this thing out. This is crazy that it would just, with one software update, destroys FireWire interfacing with the computer. Anyway.
Yep. So you'll need to start your own Hangout or something so you can hear what's coming out.
Yeah. Well, this will sound a little audio geeky. I'm getting rid of the mixer I've got, which is a 16-channel, just regular 16-channel straight mixer with a FireWire out, and I'm replacing it with a 16-channel core bus mixer with a FireWire out. Now, if the mixer's the problem, that'll solve it. But more importantly, what I want to do is I want to be able to group inputs so that I can bring in the Google Hangouts on a different computer than what I'm using to record the audio, and then just use the busing to be able to reroute it, and then reroute the bus to the FireWire channel to where it has to go, which to me makes a lot more sense. But I don't know. It's I think the way I've been doing it is a little difficult, although it works. It just isn't really. I just don't like it.
Yeah. I would love to upgrade my mixer and stop running off a Windows XP machine. But it's what I've got for now.
Well, you're doing better than me right now, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
I could still, the reason I've got this rig is so that I could do discrete audio, and yet we're not doing discrete audio because we can't use Hangouts or Skype anymore. So, it kind of, I could do just a standard stereo out like you've got and be fine now.
Yeah. What happens if we get a guest who wants to do Skype?
At this point, I cannot support that. One of you would have to call him on Skype and pipe the sound to me. At this point, that's all I could do. You'd have to record him locally on your end.
Okay. I could probably do that with Logic or one of my multi-track systems.
But Seth said Skype worked for him. Maybe I'll turn this PC on and let it get any. Well, it's Vista. It's not going to get any updates.
Yeah. It's working for me on the Mac, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It could. I haven't tried it for a while. It might not be working now.
Yeah, it's not working on Windows or Linux for me. But I haven't tried it on my Windows 10 workstation. Maybe it works on Windows 10, just not the older ones.
All right. Well, I'm going to try and pull this thing apart and find out what the root cause of this problem is.
All right, so we're recording Saturday, same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
6:30 Saturday. Cool.
And that, let me pull up my doc. That topic is going to be, I think, Star Wars is what I had tentatively put there, and neither of you came up with any better ideas. So, Star Wars it is.
Right.
So my thinking there is to
take the bulk of that.
Well, actually, no. I think you could have some input because my thing there is we're going to talk about the whole Star Wars enterprise and its effect on culture. So that's toys, that's memes, that's not just reviewing the movies and talking about it, but I just want to talk about how Star Wars has become an unavoidable part of American and even world culture, and that's no small thing. So that's what I thought we'd talk about.
Okay.
And so when we're doing those kind of shows, that's what I'd like to do is like when we talk about our favorite book series, we could review the books, but also I'd like to talk about, if this author has had some impact on society. I like to go larger than just, what we like, but actually talk about the culture concept of it. So, anyway.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Cool.
And,
I'm going to unplug and debug.
okay. Enjoy.
All right. See you guys.
Later, guys.
Y'all have fun. Bye.